Hello, everyone, and welcome to One Idea Away. As you know, we have been diving into what we've called the Energy Explorer series, which is a slew of individuals and professionals who've just done some really extraordinary things and looked at some really hard things in their life as well. And as we continue that, I want to remind you of our sometimes co-host, and in this week's episode, our guest host, Jenny Wiley. Jenny, thanks for joining me.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to be on the mic with you today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so just before we get into this interview, I wanted to give my own little preface to this because I know that the focus of today's conversation, today's episode, really had to do with a combination of two things. One being purpose, and purpose is holding a very kind of different place in our hearts right now, as we maybe are even trying to find purpose in some of what we're going through. But this is obviously a bigger, broader conversation around purpose in that regard. And also that we really dive into the idea of the power of owning your own choices, which again is also something critically important in all of life, but certainly for where we are at this time. And so as we start to turn into this interview with Jessica Rockson, and I'll let the interview itself do the introduction for Jessica, I'm curious from your standpoint, what was just something that really stood out in your conversation with Jessica that just has really stayed with you?
Yeah, I always love connecting with our iPEC community, and connecting with Jessica was really just a delight. She has such an interesting perspective around purpose. One of the nuggets that I really loved was how she uncovered that there are multiple purposes that we can align ourselves with in our lives. And hearing her story of transformation from where she was before she decided to become a coach and where she is now, and the experiences that she brings into the work that she does with her clients, is really, really inspiring. It's super interesting because she was telling her story and she said that people were asking her if she was a coach before she had even thought about becoming a coach. So how cool is that? You know, life gives us these little winks and nods showing us the way. And for Jessica, it was cool to hear her story about how everything was aligning for her as long as she kept listening to what that heartfelt purpose was for her. And it ends up being more than one purpose, which is really cool to hear about.
So that's a couple of different things we're going to get to in this interview. I do think it is really interesting the number of times that we get that wink and the nod from the universe,
Yeah.
that inner voice that's trying to say, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me, pay attention over here, right? And so this is a conversation that dives into that, and to recognize that that voice may actually be leading you to purpose in multiple ways. And so with that, we're going to roll tape, as they proverbially say, and we hope that you enjoy this interview hosted by Jenny Wiley.
Jessica Rockson is a certified professional coach, and she works with individuals and corporate clients primarily in the professional services sector. And these are clients who have achieved success but want to live richer and more fulfilling lives. She helps her clients get out of their own way, helping them to overcome blocks and move forward in a way that is sustainable. So the result is total transformation in their professional and personal lives using core energy and self-empowerment so that they can achieve the results they want with less stress and anxiety. Jessica, thank you so much for joining us today on the Energy Explorer Live series.
Oh, thank you so much. That introduction just makes me sound like I should hire you to come with me everywhere.
I'm reflecting back the light that I'm receiving from you. I love it.
I received that back. Thank you so very much. It's lovely to be here. I'm so excited to get going.
Absolutely. So the topic of our space that we're creating today is going to be around purpose. And what does purpose mean? How do we find our purpose? What has it been like for you as a coach to help your clients uncover their purposes? And spoiler alert, maybe sometimes it's multiple purposes. So I'd love to just start out with, what does it mean for you personally to have purpose in your life?
Oh my goodness, Jenny. Sometimes when you're born and you're told who you are, you kind of go through life, you achieve all the things that you're meant to achieve, you become successful, and you still find that there's something missing. This is where I found myself, and having a sense of purpose now in a way that's aware and in a way that's conscious has completely transformed my life, right? You talked about transformation before. It's happened for me, and that's how I know it's possible to kind of help other people to do that, as I guess when you talk about the purpose thing, for me, the spoiler alert, it's more than just one thing. The thing at the middle of it. So I'm a visual person. Imagine that it's a star, right? And the star's got 5 angles or 5 points.
Right.
For me, those are all different things that could be purposes. At the center, the nucleus of it has to be who you are. So for me, having a sense of purpose and living a more purposeful life, it's about discovering who I am and what I want to enjoy in life.
Love that. Yeah. I love the visual, imagining your purpose as who you are at that center, really tethering you to, what is pulling you forward in life. But then there are so many other elements that can branch off from that. Beautiful.
Exactly.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, so one of the things that I've learned as I've been connecting with coaches is that we all kind of have an origin story. And so, I would love to hear, your origin stories. Tell us what was happening in your life that helped you create the space that you needed to step into becoming a certified professional coach.
Absolutely. So my background is banking. I've worked in banking for many years, and I work as a communications manager with senior executives. And I have always wanted to get everyone to kind of come from a place of consciousness for themselves. What do you want to communicate to everybody? So it wasn't a case of just, I'm going to come in as a change agent, a change communications person and go, well, this is what we need to do. I really wanted to get to the heart of what they wanted to do. Pardon me, frog. And we're all human indeed. And also people kept asking me, are you a coach? And I was like, what is that? Because I wasn't really aware of the whole coaching space. I knew about mentoring, consulting, coaching. Yeah. I just kind of thought it was something that was more American than anything else, right? So I didn't know any coaches specifically. And also I was just starting to feel a little bit unfulfilled. So I wake up and I go to work. I make a great living. I've got some things that I've always dreamt of, but there was always something missing. So that was kind of hanging in the background. Yeah. And then I started to kind of, after work, a long day, 60 hours, I'd sit there in the bank and I'd go, what did I do today that actually changed anything in the world? And it just kind of catapults me back into the past where my grandma lived in Ghana. She was 104 when she passed. But she was such a bright light in my life, a big part of my who. And she used to say to me, my granddaughter, life is precious. You're born and you die one day. Make sure in between you're doing something that leaves the world better than you found it. And I used to think, oh, grandma, I didn't really understand it. So having this space where I was feeling unfulfilled, a bit confused, a bit lost, when on paper I had a perfect life, I started to think about exploring coaching. I put it off, distracted myself. And then, I went through a personal tragedy where, after having gone through in vitro fertilization, I was pregnant with twins. And I was so happy. First time too, who said it was going to be difficult? So easy.
Got
First
this.
time.
Yeah.
I'm a high achiever. I achieved this. I achieved that too. First time. Woohoo.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden, the dream kind of crashed and burned when I miscarried them. And I was so lost and so trapped in my own dense energy because I was confused. And when you're confused, you're locked in a cycle.
Yeah.
But I went to work 4 days after surgery. I did not take any time off. I was there in the bank tapping away on my keyboard. And when you have they call it come to Jesus moment, you have a word to yourself.
Right.
I'm like, what are you doing? So I got online. I started searching for coach training schools. I wanted to do it right. I wanted one that was all about their heart, like you said.
Yeah.
Right? It's about their heart, not what goals you want to achieve today. Let's go through it. I wanted something that would go deeper. And lo and behold, I find iPEC.
That's amazing. Oh, wow. Thank you so much for sharing that part of yourself with us in your story. It really helps us to understand, I think sometimes we forget that we're not just talking faces on a screen. There is such a rich depth of a story behind this. And that is with anyone in the world that we meet. And that's one of the most amazing things for me about being a coach, is that everyone has a story. And just like you uncovered the answers for yourself by following what was really in your heart, each of us has the answers within ourselves too, to be able to make the choices that are going to be more aligned with who we really are, and not just a mask that we're wearing of what we should or supposed to be doing. Yeah. I love how you said that in your previous roles that people were asking you if you were a coach already. What do you attribute that to?
I'm generally quite curious. Some may say nosy. I say inquisitive.
I love it.
I just want to know a little bit more about people. When you love to be around people, you're genuinely interested in what they're doing in their daily life. So, for example, if it's a senior executive, I'm asking how the weekend went. It's not just business all the time. Oh, you're looking a little bit low today. So what's going on with you? And when they say, oh, just go prepare this comms, people will be fired, la, 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 la. And I go, okay, so let's slow down. Tell me a little bit more about your perspective of what's happening. Right. So this is where the inquiry kind of starts, and asking questions that I now know are called empowering questions. I think that's why people started asking. And executives in the UK tend to have coaches. So then they would have had that exposure. Therefore, asking the question starts to make sense.
They notice those qualities in you. Yeah, absolutely. Isn't that interesting how sometimes people's reflections of us and their observations of us really can help us wake up in a way to what our real purpose is. That's super interesting. I would love for anyone who is joining us today live, if you have any questions that are coming up for you, maybe there's even someone who has a question for Jessica, just as her experience being a coach, feel free to use that Q&A box or add in the comments in Facebook. I'm having an amazing time talking with Jessica right now, but I don't want to spoil it and to keep it all to myself. So please do feel free to ask any questions that you guys have that have to do with Jessica's journey, what she's experienced as a coach, and things like that. So in the meantime, I will keep asking the questions that I have, because I'm naturally inquisitive too.
Go for it.
Awesome. So one of the things that came up for me when I was preparing for our time together was really observing how it seems like one of the things that as a society we've kind of kept thinking about is this illusion of like a work-life balance. And I kind of feel like you were alluding to that as like one of the masks that you used to wear of like high achieving, like I find my identity by producing and doing, and not necessarily who I am. So we could talk about that for sure, but I'm curious about, I'm noticing that there's more of a calling, especially in times like now, when our work is not our identity anymore. Especially, we can't go into our physical offices anymore because of what's happening with the pandemic. And so I'm noticing this calling for us all to integrate more of our purpose into our lives. And so I'd love to hear, what resonates with you about that, or if you have any observations about that on your end.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So working in corporate, you hear about organizations that started trying that very early on. They tried to allow their employees to kind of work from home when they could, and kind of 9 to 5 stop, then life starts. That idea was kind of rubbished a bit, right? Yeah. So it was a case of, if I'm at work and I need to speak to my babysitter, or my nursery is calling, I can take that call and not feel guilty about it.
Exactly.
And then when you're home and you need to kind of log on for a minute to check something and do something, then you can do that too. It stops the whole idea of this or that. It's very rigid. And life is not that way. We're quite holistic beings, aren't we? We don't just stop and start in one spot. So now we are forced to kind of try and start blending the two. My sister's an HR consultant. She was on the phone to her company, CEOs. Her babies come running in. We've seen it on the news before, right? When
Yes,
just
exactly.
my 1-year-old could just walk through the door right now, right? So it has to be. This is the reality of it. No matter how we try to be rigid, I think being flexible means, and this has been proven for those that need proof, it's been proven that organizations that actually do the blending, the integration of work life, actually have higher productivity. They get to feel like, well, if I'm relaxed doing this, then I can be relaxed kind of when I'm home and I need to do something for work. I do it with an open energy and with an open heart. So that really, really resonates with me. And now people are learning, some people the hard way, other people, they're used to it, how to blend the two. And I believe it's the future. I really do.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because a lot of us have more space now to slow down and question, the way things were versus how they are now. I think that a lot of us are really looking at the roles that we play in life and the jobs that we're identifying with, and asking ourselves very similarly to what you did when you experienced your traumatic experience, what am I doing right now? And so I'd love for you to talk about, maybe an example from a client or maybe for yourself. How did you start to dig into you had that hard question. How did you start to dig into, well, what really is my purpose? And what did that look and feel like?
Okay, so I'll give you an example from a client. And of course, everything is anonymous and I have permission to share the story, of course, no details. But I coached a lady who, it's really interesting in coaching. Sometimes you attract people who are just like you. Yeah. And I was just a few steps forward, and she was a very successful, and she is a very successful person, kind of telling the story in the past now. But she had everything, the accolades, very well respected, a little bit feared at work. She was in a man's world, as we say in banking, and she had gotten quite far in her career. She had the money, anything she wanted, holidays. But she had a sense of, she felt like something was missing.
Yeah.
Kind of takes me back to where I was, right? She felt like something was missing. And, she just kept going on, ignored it. And then something happened at work and she felt like she was going to have a breakdown. So she decided to walk away from it all. The 6-figure salary, the respect, the post, the stripes on the shoulders, everything. She walked away from it. She then came home. She went on a few holidays in search, went to Bali.
Yeah.
Bali.
Okay.
Leave. Yeah, exactly. Live, eat, pray. And
yes,
she tried to do all those things, the yoga, everything else. She came back after a year. Her purpose, she's like, where's my purpose? I still don't have it. I still can't find it. Then she decides that, well, I've been home for a year now. I'm going to go back to where I started. She wanted to go back to corporate. She tried 2 months, nothing. 6 months, 9 months. She's thinking, wait a minute, we have a problem here.
Right.
What is happening? Why am I not finding a role? It used to be so easy for her. So she was recommended to me by a friend, and we started working together. And I guess when you talk about how you arrive at that, purpose means such different things to different people. Some people get triggered by it. The moment you say, what's your purpose? They go, what do you mean?
Yeah, interesting.
They feel like everybody knows their purpose but them. So she was kind of in that bracket a bit. And she was like, I've been looking for this thing. And, working together, she had purpose by the throat. Well, she had herself by the throat trying
I'm going to find you purpose.
Exactly. Shake it loose. What is it?
Yeah.
So then the kind of work we did was actually re-examining her who. Again, kind of mentioned that before. Who are you? Who are you? Are you the kick butt sort of person that people quiver in their boots for? Are you the gentle, nurturing person that I see? Who are you? And we did the work on that. And I think the way she found her purpose slowly was taking who she is with her values. I mean, energy coaches, we do so much value work. And people will go, well, what's the point of that? It's what you stand for.
Yeah.
It's what actually, it's your prime directive. It's the thing that when you're showing up comes through, right? So we did the who are you? We did the values, and then we did the passion. What was she passionate about? So a lot of that work kind of led her to discover that purpose is not that one thing. She had several purposes that kind of came together around who she is as a human being. I never thought I'd see this. She volunteers at a soup kitchen. She has got amazing pets that she loves. She's into mindfulness because she wants to, not because it's meant to be the, thing that is a trend that everybody says you should be doing that. She's genuinely happy, and she's got a role even better than where she was before.
Wow.
With amazing people who love her.
Yeah.
Because her energy's changed from fear to actually, I want to do what you asked me to do because I love you, because I want to do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Big transformation. That's the miracle of coaching.
That's so beautiful. And I love hearing, you were saying that everyone's path to uncovering their purpose is going to look different, and sometimes that might be a recognition that I'm trying to find my purpose and letting go into it.
Yes.
For some others, it might be, oh, I have so many ideas, and you really need to hone in and get a little bit more, decisive about what it is. And so that's really cool to think about. I love that. I'm curious, Jessica, with your training through iPEC, how did or did not that contribute to you uncovering and tapping more into your purpose?
Oh, I think it was kind of brewing in the background until I was in day one in class, sitting there with my peers, new people from all walks of life. I assumed there'd be a lot of, maybe student types, people who are not quite sure where they're going. No, not at all. There were people from all walks of life, people from the corporate world, personal, you had this is what I love about, the whole process of, working, learning with iPEC. There are people from parts of Africa, because, I trained in London as their EMEA, it was their EMEA hub. People from all around the world that had come together, some Asia, and we were just sat down. And, the whole concept, the principles started to come out, the quotes, things like pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. And I'm sitting there thinking, and in the meantime, I still have a bump, right? And I'm sat there going, oh my goodness, it was, and I would go, and I'd be honest about that. I'd go into the toilet and I would weep a bit. It was really strange. And people who know me would say, oh, she's tough. No way she's going to be crying. Yes, I was in the loos and the ladies. I was crying because I had it was almost like a barrage of awareness had hit me and I didn't know what to do with it. The process was incredible. It was starting to open my eyes to what was possible, that we're not just this, that we're actually bigger and more limitless than we think we are. And so that whole process, I went there to kind of help other people and, be a coach, and I just want to leave the corporate world behind. What I did was find my inner coach for myself first.
Yeah.
Before I even thought about coaching anybody. The deep inner work that you do is just transformational.
Yeah. Oh, it's so beautiful. Hearing you describe it, and it just reminds me of, how our purpose is always within us. It's not like that purpose had gone anywhere or who you were at your core was lost. It was simply you giving yourself the space to start peeling the onion back and looking at things and asking yourself some hard questions. I imagine that there were a series of hard questions that you had to ask yourself to be able to dive back into that purpose-centered space for yourself.
Yes, absolutely. I went through, after those 3 days, I came home and I had to kind of get in my bed and cover myself with my blanket because I was just all over the place, mentally, emotionally, in every way. But those questions were, this is how you've lived your life this way. You kind of hit on that. My thing was proving. I come from a culture where, sometimes when you're a girl, you're overlooked. And I kind of always felt like I had to prove my worth, and I will, if my brother does this, I'm going to try to do that. If my friend, a male friend, does this, I'm going to do that. And then what that does is it drains you. So I was learning that I wasn't actually achieving stuff from a great place. You can still make the same achievements. You can still have the same achievements, but are you wiped out afterwards, or are you nourished and ready to go for more? Yeah, so that was the difference for me. And the questions that I asked myself were all open-ended, as we do in coaching when you're training.
Open-ended, empowering questions.
Exactly.
Yes. So if you're not sure what we're talking about, it can't be a yes or no question. It would be something that would be open-ended that we ask ourselves.
Exactly. And those opened me up to actually explore a lot of journaling, a lot of talking to my family, and then after that, I hired a coach, and she's been absolutely amazing, because I believe, it may not be for everybody, but I believe that when you're going through the process and you actually aiming to be a masterful coach, to be able to help in a deep place, then having a coach really helps. And so that's what I did.
Yeah, absolutely. Coaches need coaches also.
Yes.
I can relate similarly in the uncovering process. I came from a background of marketing and project management, and the things that I was good at weren't the things that I was really feeling lit up by, and I realized that I was not really carrying the projects that I was working on. I cared about the people who I was interacting with and the relationships that I was building. And so by realigning with that, it just created an entire new journey for me of opening up into myself and asking myself questions where it's like, what do I really feel filled up by? What do I feel drained by? And so often the way that things are going in society lately is that we feel like we have to produce and achieve, and our value is equated by what we're doing outwardly, but really our value is who we are on the inside.
Yes, and that never changes. We just get a little bit blind to it, that it's there, right? Because I was in fight mode. What you're describing is fight, right?
Yeah.
You're fighting for everything. And as much as you're going to achieve it, like I said before, you just get to the end and you can't even enjoy it because you're so exhausted.
Right.
So actually getting the realization and awareness from a very early point allows you to slow down. This is what I was doing, just really, really rushing. I do have a baby now. I have a baby girl. She's 1.5 years old.
So exciting.
And it literally was, through me slowing down and working with my coach on the behaviors that I'm going to prove, and actually I'm going to experience and be somewhat detached from what's going to happen, just go with it with the best that you can. And then the rest is out of your control, because control is a perceptual illusion anyway, right?
Right. I think we're all coming to that conclusion, or a lot of us are coming to that conclusion, especially lately. I'm going to ask kind of a loaded question because I think I know what the answer might be. But, on this journey to uncovering your purpose, there's never a time that you've really completed it.
True.
And so I'm curious what that has been like for you, coming back to that purpose, coming back to that center for yourself. And maybe even, what those multiple purposes have been like for you as you've been on this journey.
Yes, you make a really fantastic point. It's not something that you start and you finish. I often say to myself,
finish line, I did it, purpose.
Exactly. I've got it, right? And I believe elements of the purpose change sometimes as you grow and you evolve, because I'm not the same Jessica now that I was back then, when I was going through 10 cycles of IVF. I'm not the same person. I'm a different person now. So it takes a little letting go, a little bit of what you think your identity is. Who you think you are, because who you think you are, really think you with a capital T truth, is limitless. So if I think to myself, I'm Jessica, I'm a coach, I'm Jessica, I'm a mother, I'm Jessica, I'm a sister, all those things serve to kind of limit me a little bit. So the way I kind of look at that is to be open. Things will change and things will flow. When change happens, it's completely natural that we're all going to be a little bit like, oh my gosh, what just happened? But sometimes by covering ourselves, we're able to get back up and go, okay, so that wasn't so bad. So I'll confess, when things hit me out of left field, whether I'm walking in purpose or not, I do get a little bit frazzled. But what happens then is I say to myself, it's okay. A lot of the purpose work that I've done is in retraining how I talk to myself, as opposed to, oh, come on, you should have known better than this. That was the schoolgirl era. You should have known about this. No,
Right.
I don't talk to my friends and my loved ones, my clients. I don't talk to them that way. So why talk to myself in that way? So a lot of that has been around just coming. I think recently my coach said this line, coming home to myself, and it's okay. I'm not going to solve the world's problems. What I can do is use my purpose and my passion to kind of impact, like my grandma said, to impact those around me in the smallest way possible. If a friend needs to have a Zoom call with me because they're feeling down, feeling trapped, let's have a talk. If a client comes and they want to vent, okay, let's allow them to vent, right? It's not a case of, well, let's get to business, It's a case of just being a little bit, doing a little less. Yeah, we're human beings.
Yeah. I'm even getting this sense of you arriving, the coming back to home, that just, it's really resonating with me, and you arriving at that space of being in alignment with your purpose over and over and over again. And it's a really beautiful thing to imagine. Yeah. We have someone who's curious, their goal is to become a certified life coach to help make a difference in others' lives. And they're asking, how can I get a coach to help me along my journey? I'm curious, how did you find your coach, Jessica?
I was blessed actually to have been introduced to my coach the first day of my iPEC journey. So she was my lead trainer. And
amazing.
I didn't hire her straight off. I hired her way after we had, graduated and everything was over. I loved her energy and we kind of stayed in touch. And I thought, going through what I was going through, I needed someone that was heart-centered. It wasn't a process for me. It was a heart-centered issue that I really wanted to work deeply on. And so this is why I hired her.
Yeah, amazing. The lead trainers with iPEC are so incredible. They really bring their whole selves into the training and the coaching that they do. They're wonderful models for all of us. I'm curious, Jessica, when you are bringing your whole self into, the coaching that you do, what does that look like for you with your clients?
That looks like me being myself completely. So some people may see me and go, "Oh, she's so sweet," and "Oh, she's so this," and "Oh,
you are very sweet."
Jenny, thank you. But what you do is at the beginning, you kind of say to your client, how would you like to be coached? So that has a little bit of an impact as well. There is a little bit of an assertive side of me too, So if my client wants to kind of tap into that, let's go. What is getting in your way? You said you're going to do this. What got in your way? Not a case of why didn't you do it? It's not an inquisition, right?
Yeah.
It's a case of using that tough love. And that's me showing up genuinely, because with my sisters, with my family, this is how we work, right? Okay, so you want to do it, what's standing in your way?
Yeah.
You want to stand in the corner and do a little boohoo? Okay, stand in the corner and do a little boohoo, but let's get on
getting
with
back to work. Right.
Exactly. You take your time, but you ask the question, so how is this serving you? You feeling that way and being stuck in it for months and months and months and months. Everybody kind of arrives at the action point at a different time. So, how is that serving you? And I ask myself that same question. After one failed cycle, it's like, how long are you going to go through this? It's a genuine way of being. So as much as I am all about the nurturing, my nurturing also takes a form of, let's get you on your way, honey. Let's do it.
Right.
So there are two sides to me. So normally when I'm showing up in my purpose, it's actually representing that as well.
Beautiful. I'm sensing so much empathy, but also power in the way that you coach, Jessica. It's really inspiring to hear about it.
Thank you so much, Jenny.
Welcome. Yeah. Okay. Well, we have a question from Sandy. It looks like she's coaching someone now. So I'm working with a client now to help her find her purpose and what she wants to do with her life now that her daughter will be headed off to college. So she's struggling a bit. Can you talk about the process that you use for arriving at a client's purpose?
Absolutely. So again, if we think our purpose is one thing, so it's our purpose, a huge part of it will be our children, and they're flying the nest. Of course, you're going to feel like you're a little bit lost. What do I do with all this time? How am I going to feel needed? I would say it's about acknowledging your client and validating the way they're feeling, for sure, a million times over, because they're going to need it. From that point, it's actually them doing a little bit of a discovery as to what it is that they enjoy in their lives. And if they don't really enjoy anything precisely right now, what is the sorts of things that they used to enjoy, right? Because it's mindset, it's how you look at it. It's either my kids are leaving me for school and I'm going to be going through that one day, or
yeah.
or they're going to find their path, they're going to find their own purpose, they're going off on their own. What is the opportunity for me to actually start looking at what I enjoy? What do I want to do for the rest of my life? It doesn't have to be heavy, but I believe it's a journey of exploration, right? Because you can't give the client the answers. Whatever she needs is right there within her. It's a case of being able to tease it out with compassion and love. And you mentioned empathy, to get her to feel empowered again, to go out there. It's a great, great time for her to be able to kind of start her own different phase in her life. This is where she might discover other purposes that have been there that she's never dug out.
Right. Oh, that's so interesting. I love thinking about also, thinking back to my own journey and the values that I aligned myself with that are kind of like a thread that go throughout my entire life. Even if my purpose has shifted or changed, or there's a new transformation of it, the things that I value and the things that are really important to me, for the most part, have stayed the same. And so sometimes just remembering that can be an amazing part of the process, and just really validating too.
Absolutely. And what I do with my clients sometimes when they're feeling a little bit not sure how to get going is I am an avid lover of vision boards.
Oh, I
It's
love that.
changed my
Amazing.
life. It's changed my life, right? You just imagine and you say, what do I want to be? What do I want to experience? Who do I want to do it with? And it just opens up this whole new world of imagination, right? What is it that you want to achieve in the next 6 months, in the next year? Cut out the pictures, the words, put it together. I love vision boarding. And I've done events for vision boarding and things like that. So that might be a nice light way of getting the client a little bit out of catabolic energy, possibly, and moving them up.
Absolutely. And our imaginations are so powerful. It's such an underutilized resource a lot of times.
Absolutely. We grow up because, you're grown now, you're a big girl, you're not allowed to be playing with coloring books. I've got so many coloring books that I've been kind of coloring in, when you're feeling a little bit cabin fever. It's a lovely way to kind of let your imagination go. It's really
Yeah.
fantastic.
I love hearing about the vision boards, that's something that you personally feel so connected to as a tool that you use with your coaching and workshops and things like that. That's so exciting. Are there any other interests that you have or parts of yourself that you bring into the coaching that you do, or the services or events that you put together?
Yes, no, I like to, when I talk about myself, people assume that you're a coach, so you're in Zen all the time, right? You're just floating around level 6, level 7, and you're all about, but I like to bring into my coaching and the tools that I use that sometimes things happen. And when they do happen, it's okay that you kind of unravel a little bit and then come back to center. So for when I'm running events, I like to use tools that we learned in iPEC, things like the Wheel of Life, to start ourselves thinking about what it is that we want to experience more of, right? Because people go, like the work-life balance thing, it's either work or it's either life. But actually, it's a whole pie of human emotion and human relationships, right? So I bring that in. I love that for corporates. I used to be terrified to bring out my Wheel of Life, when I've gone to banks to do well-being and kind of coaching talks, and
What
I'm
are they
like,
going to
oh
think
my
of
God,
this?
yeah, like, what are they going to think? And you're kind of shaking like this as you bring your piece of paper up. But it's something that's really popular because it gets people thinking about themselves as human beings, right? Because it's got all those sections: your career, your life, your relationships, the romantic versus your familial ones, right? Your money, and people hate talking about money, right? So it kind of brings everything together So it's a tool that I've used quite a lot, actually, with events that I have run.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, we receive and learn so many different tools going through the coach training certification program. And so there are some things that resonate with us and some things we're like, interesting, not yet, maybe not ever, but we get to choose what we want to pull into our coaching practice, and it's really cool.
Absolutely. Oh, and then there's one thing, ideal image tool. That has been something that, like you said, doesn't resonate with everybody, but it resonates with a lot of people. Who do I want to be? What are the qualities that I need to embody to be able to step into that? That is another powerful one that I love using.
Amazing. We have an observation from Paul, and I'm going to read it and we can react to it. So not everything is about purpose. There needs to be pleasure too. You need to enjoy what you do. Where the balance sits between the pleasure and purpose will be specific to the person. We need to be conscious of making our own paths if necessary, rather than following established paths. I love this observation, Paul. Jessica, what do you think?
I could not agree more. This is why I say it looks so different to everybody. For me, my purpose encompasses my pleasure. It has all of that, because it's not all about somebody else, because the moment you say purpose, you think about, oh my gosh, I need to go out and save the world. It's about everybody else. It starts on the inside. So when we talk about caring for other people, we've got to care for ourselves first. So yes, and it's feeling like something you're going to do is pleasurable, that makes you want to do it. This is why, I may have quit the corporate world, and other people may want to change their jobs because they're not having fun in it. So if you're not having fun in it, then what's the point? So if you think your purpose is something you're not having fun in, then I would invite you to kind of look at that again, because there has to be something in it for you.
Right. Something to tether you and hook you into it. Absolutely.
Yes.
We have these audience members who are here today. We have people who are going to watch this video later. And I would venture to assume that we're going to be in this experience with this pandemic for a while, where the rules that we used to all be living by are up for grabs, are being questioned. And so for those of us who are thinking about becoming a coach or tapping more into our purpose, while we might have some extra time on our hands, what would you suggest for us to try or ask ourselves? Pretend like we're your clients.
No, absolutely. This is such a fantastic point that you make, and a fantastic question. Whereas we distract ourselves, normally with, I'm busy, I can't do it, I want to write that book, I can't be bothered, I'm too busy going to work, the kids. This is the perfect opportunity. So when you think about being locked up in cabin fever, the switch that kind of lifts you up a little bit more is, what could you be doing in this time? If you're not happy in your job, what courses could you be taking right now? If you want to get in shape, what could you be doing? There's tons of stuff on YouTube. What can you really be doing right now with actually getting in your way? When we talk about blocks, now there's no excuse, right? There is opportunity. Life is different. Life is stressful for a lot of people right now. Don't get me wrong. But with that, we have so much time on our hands. I personally do stuff when baby goes to bed. From 8 o'clock, I can connect with my friends. I can, do the work that I need to do for my clients. I can send all those admin sorts of things. Getting in shape, we could all get in shape, depending on what it is that you want to do. But it's such a great opportunity. And if coaching is something that is in your heart, it was in my heart for 6 years. And sometimes I go, oh, I wish I'd done it before now. But then I remember, you're exactly where you're meant to be. So this is the opportunity now to choose what you want to do. Don't let it go by. We're in lockdown. What else can you be doing? That's fun. Right. I know there's going to be a lot of babies come, when this is
that will over. Be very interesting, won't it?
Exactly. So what else can we be doing to develop ourselves, to actually get closer to our purpose or our passion, whatever definition, whatever that looks like for you? That means when all this is over, because nothing stays the same forever, right? The good bits and the bad bits. This is the happiness and the sadness, right? If something is good, enjoy it, be grateful for it, really savor it. And if it's not going great, understand and know and trust that it's not going to be forever. What can you do in that space? Beginning and in the middle, what are we doing?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think sometimes it can be easy to forget that the sitting with some of the hard feelings that you can no longer distract yourself from is the work also. Yes. And so a lot of us have an opportunity right now, the opportunity is to slow down and to be with ourselves and really sit with that uncovering again of our who, much like you did at the beginning of your journey.
Exactly. It's not a punishment. Really, genuinely in my heart, I believe it's an opportunity.
Absolutely.
Because what is going on outside is beyond our control. What we do with that. I know people have heard that a million times, but for me, it's something that grounds me, right? Am I going to stay victim to the fact that I'm stuck indoors? Or am I going to say, okay, so I'm stuck indoors, what can I do to kind of uplift me, to up-level myself? And that looks different for everybody. If one day you just want to have a duvet day, go for it. Like you wanting to be your reading, wanting to be in bed still. That's cool. Yeah, but we've got many days. Yeah, there you go. I'd get my mug up.
Oh, your beautiful tea. Oh, I love bikes. That's great.
So, it's a great opportunity for us to do something and kind of come out of the news that kind of drags you down a little bit. We need to know what's going on, but we need to go on and see what's going on inside of ourselves.
Right. Check the newsreel here.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we have another question from Paul, and I'd like to frame this up so that we can talk about energy leadership. Yes. His question is, what tools and techniques do you use to overcome barriers or blocks, especially emotional or mental barriers? And so what I would love to talk about, Jessica, is you kind of alluded to this. I could take a victim mindset right now, and be in that. So let's talk about, the way that you use energy leadership, which is iPEC's methodology, to help your clients uncover what might be blocking them.
Absolutely. This has been a tool that has helped every transformation that's happened around with people that I know, clients and family. I give them the book, the Energy Leadership
by Bruce
Yes,
Schneider. Yeah.
Yes, I do. I give them the book and we talk about it consistently, and now they know the lingo. So energy leadership, a lot of times when we have it and we have emotion, energy around things, we can't quite quantify or qualify it. Having those 7 levels of energy, knowing that, am I feeling a little bit of a victim today to the whole fact that I can't go out and buy ice cream and buy chocolate, and I have to get it ordered in, and it's like a month before anything arrives.
Right.
Am I, oh God, poor me. And then I get really angry about it, which is level 2. And so using that energy leadership, going right up to when you're seeing things like opportunity. What is that? We've just been talking about the opportunity, and looking at things like we are all in this together, and those high levels of energy has transformed my life and transformed my client's life. Normally when you go through it with them and you show them step by step how you can recognize your own energy and through awareness be able to shift yourself up the scale, people go, well, oh yeah, I know somebody that's level 2. Oh, I know somebody that's level 1. It starts to be a little bit more, they think to themselves, oh, actually, this is not about me to point fingers at people. This is for me, my core, the way I see myself. And that by itself. So for people on the call who are not familiar with it, I strongly recommend, that you have a look at the 7 levels of energy. It will change your life. Seriously, it has changed my life. I've done talks on it about how that could possibly change lives. And people who are brains, PhDs, who may look at me and think, who are you? They come to you after the event and go, actually, I'd like to find out a little bit more about that. So it's something that can literally change your life, because it changes your perception. It changes how you see yourself in the world. Seriously.
Right. And so when we are interacting with blocks or mental barriers, recognizing that those are perceptions, those are energy perceptions that we are tuning into, and we have the choice to be able to shift out of that or move through that, is really one of the greatest tools that as iPEC coaches we have.
Absolutely. The greatest gift really is the fact that you discover that your life is yours. You're at choice at any given moment, regardless of what's happening around you. And that is powerful. I found that for myself, having been through a lot. I've really discovered for myself that, things will not always go your way. It's about you having the tools and awareness to choose to do something about it. If I cut my finger and I want to sit in the corner and cry, I'm going to sit in the corner and cry, because I do that consciously, right? And ask myself, okay, so how long are you going to sit there crying for? But I do it anyway, right? As opposed to me going, oh my gosh, I don't know what's wrong with me today. My finger really hurts, right?
It's such a great example. I don't know, my finger's bleeding. I don't know what I should do.
What's wrong? Yeah, exactly. So it's about you being vulnerable with yourself and not being afraid to look a little bit childish in front of yourself and asking those hard questions. What part am I playing in where I am now? Right? I'm not saying that whatever's happened to you is, your fault. And that's what people are you saying it's my fault. No, I'm saying how you choose to proceed from here on in is your choice, regardless of what happens to you.
Beautiful. Beautiful, Jessica. I love it. That's amazing. Thank you.
You're most welcome.
Whew. So as we start to close up our awesome conversation today, I'd love for you to share with everyone who's watching, this coach training journey that you have been on is so inspiring. And, if someone were to ask you, would you do this again? What would you tell them?
1,000,000,000 times. Yes, I would. I really, really would. It was not easy for me to start the journey, right? But once I got going, I did not want to stop. And that was, me facing some pretty strong gremlins. My inner critic was barking at me. What are you doing? How can you leave this amazing, corporate life? You're making all the money, doing all the things. How could you be leaving that, right? But then it's me looking at that and going, this is, at the beginning, thought it was my entire purpose. But now it is a huge part of who I am. The ideology of coaching is part of who I am. The wanting to help people to discover what I've discovered is just incredible. I sat in class and I was mesmerized the whole time. And through all 3 mods, I enjoyed them. Where negative or catabolic energy was coming up, I felt it, like you were saying before. I sat with it. I really sat with it, as opposed to running and hiding from it. I really sat with it. And then where the really lovely, nourishing energy was coming, I was drinking it up like it was Kool-Aid, So it's such a rewarding journey to go on, hands down. I would do it over and over and over again.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jessica. It has been so awesome getting to know you more and having this space with you. Can't wait to come visit you in London.
We've got Grace, guys, but come on down. It's been such an amazing honor to be here today. I'm so thankful for you having me here. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Yeah. So we are going to add a link to Jessica's website if anyone wants to get in touch with her. We actually have an ambassador program that is through iPEC. And so Jessica is an ambassador for iPEC. And if anybody wants to talk with her about her experience, she'll figure out a way to interact with you on that. Or if you decide that Jessica's the right person for you to coach with, maybe that's something that you want to explore. We'll be posting her links below. We have Jordan, who's going to be also posting some links. We've gotten into the heart of what it means to be a certified professional coach. And yet, if you find yourself wondering, what about the logistics? Which is a totally understandable question to be asking. We have some opportunities coming up where you can ask those questions directly. We have a weekly Q&A call with our admissions team. So the admissions coaches are there for you to help answer any questions. They actually coach you also around your coach training journey and what it is that you want to experience and be a part of. So we really recommend, either joining the Q&A session or scheduling a session with one of them so that you can get that all rolling if you're ready to become a certified professional coach. The other thing that's coming up next week is International Coaching Week. And so we are all going to be celebrating what it means to be a certified professional coach. And I'm hosting a panel discussion on Tuesday, May 5th. It's called Going Pro as a Certified Coach. And we have some amazing panelists who are going to be sharing their perspective about why now is an amazing time to be up-leveling your coaching skills and impacting the world. So lots of amazing ways to get in touch. We hope that everyone has enjoyed touching Jessica's heart with me. This has been so wonderful. Thank you again for joining me in this space today, Jessica.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.
All right. We'll see you all online. Bye.
Bye.
Check out iPEC's coach training program at ipeccoaching.com/OIA. And of course, to find out about all the conversations, events, gatherings, all the things that we've got upcoming, then head on over to oneideaaway.com/community. Thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you have, please do us the favor of subscribing, reviewing the show, as well as sharing insights or comments that stood out for you in this episode.